This episode of the SwitchCast is produced by Ted Wagner, our honored Patreon backer and Switch Knight.
Wagner! Hi everybody, I'm Casey.
And I'm Rin.
And this is the SwitchCast, the podcast for the Nintendo Switch zoologist. And if you have a sharp ear and great observation skills, you will have already deduced that JV's not here and he's been replaced with our fan favorite fill-in, Miss Rin.
Hi.
Hey, Rin.
He is avoiding me. Every single time I come on here, he runs away. He comes on here and he says how much he loves me, but then when I'm here, he runs away. What was that?
That is true, because you know what? This is an episode that you're not just here because JV's away, and you're not just here just because we needed a fill-in. This is a big episode. This is the Pokemon Let's Go episode, and for such a big title, we have to get our old school team together to talk about it. And so Rin was 100% going to be on here one way or the other, but JV cannot stand being between the two of us. Which one of us is the rock and which one of us is the hard place? He will
it's just too much awesome in one contained package for him. He can't take it.
That's true, because he is the anti-awesome, and therefore he would mutually annihilate if we... No.
Oh, that's awful.
Just kidding, JV. We love you. We hope you... we just know that you're going to have to spend the next episode spending about 3.5 hours just to catch up on all the awesome Pokemon gushing and talking and all that. But this is a perfect time, though, to tell everybody to have a happy Thanksgiving. This is our Thanksgiving episode that I hope to be getting edited and posted in time for the feasting of both your ears as well as your palates.
Happy Turkey Day!
Yes. And do you have any do you have like family where you are? You have like big Thanksgiving kind of thing going on?
Once upon a time, but since it's just me and Mom, we kind of don't really do we are staying inside because it is going to be cold as heck.
Yes, it is going to be
and
very
we are
cold
hibernating, and we already have a bunch of food, semi-Thanksgiving-ish food, and we're just going to stay in the house and stuff our faces.
That's smart. My in-laws live a lot closer than my outlaws, so I will be definitely spending the time with them, because it's just, I don't want to be out there in that ridiculous cold that seems to be for tomorrow. I just want to, hunker down, eat, and crawl right back into a couch.
No, it's supposed to be like below 30 here.
Ugh.
Not prepared for this stuff already. I feel like we got two consecutive days of fall, and that was it.
I've been talking too much to the people, to our, what do we call them? The podcast alumni, our other Switch hosts that have been on the show, and they're all from Texas, California, West Coast areas, and they're all just living it up, and they're warmer than here holidays, so I'm shaking a fist at you guys, slightly envious. Unless we get actual snow, I will accept the cold if it provides me with pretty snow.
No.
No, pretty snow, not like blizzard, not like, hard to get to the corner of your block snow, like pretty dustings.
I stopped liking snow when it stopped giving me days off.
Fair enough. Speaking of Thanksgiving, though, this is a perfect time to give thanks to all of our Patreon backers out there who make this show possible. If you like this show, if you like the community that we have going, and you want to see us do some awesome more stuff with it, definitely go over to patreon.com/theswitchcast. You can pledge $1, $2, $5, $1 billion, or $5 if you prefer. And that monthly pledge will keep us going, let us do more stuff. And we have this is a big episode because Pokemon is going to be another galvanizing factor for the community. 100,000 people in our chat room are going to be clamoring for tournaments and events, and I'll be all too happy to accommodate. And I'm already promising to put up for our first tournament after people have a little time to kind of get, figure out the meta of this and maybe, actually make a team or two. I'm going to be definitely putting up some prizes, the least of which will be like a $25 Amazon card. And anything else, there's always some people come out of the woodwork and throw up, some prizes for us to do. But I want this, it's been a long time, Rin, since we did the old Pokemon Times tournaments
right
back in the day. I mean, that's nothing brings the community together like that, talking strategy. And even if you're casual and you're not really competitive, I'm sure it'll be fun just to join in. We'll definitely find a way to stream some matches here and there now that we have the technology at our fingertips. And I'm still reminiscent of the days when JV used to do the play-by-plays with Trogdor in them.
Mm-hmm.
We have some, I'm going to find some YouTube video links and I'm going to put them up there. They did some great commentary for battles back on like DS games and they would put that on YouTube and they had the color commentary and would describe everything. And even if you didn't know the Pokemon strategy, listening to them talk about it, you kind of understood what the importance of moves are, and it just really brought it into a little more easy to approach.
I have to dig up my old Elgato and see if I can get it to work.
Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, actually, I might have to talk to you later about some Elgato work because I am picking mine up soon to start doing that.
I have not used it very much, so I don't know how much help I'll be to you, but...
It'll be better than me just poking around and, rubbing it against the side of my ROM to see until it works. Anyway, we have a brief game station, mostly because last time Rin was here, we were not able to get her review of Okami in, and that is something she was very eager to talk about, and I'm eager to hear about as well.
And we especially need to do it now because Ori was denied the opportunity to talk about it last episode. So if I don't talk about it now, he probably won't be very happy with us.
So let's make sure that you survive the night and don't give Ori any more reasons to
don't kill me, Ori.
Take you out. So we're going to go to the game station, and after that we have the Switch Focus, which is going to be all about Pokemon Let's Go. We're going to really dig into that. There's so much to talk about, and we have a lot of background in the Pokemon world, so it's really is Christmas already for us to get to talk about this now. Right. And of course, we're going to have the community pulse feedback on that and the news rundown before the show is over. So, here we go. Woohoo! All right, Game Station, Rin, please weave your magical wand of fate and draw us a picture, will you, of what is this Okami game that we have been trying to talk about for a while now.
Yes, not only do I get to be a video game nerd, I get to be an art nerd now. My degree is useful for something!
Have you actually practiced, what do they call that? Like that calligraphy with the paintbrushes that they do with the kanji?
I am so freaking bad with calligraphy. I don't even know any kanji. Don't ask me about that. But I've used the kind of brush that they use, the bamboo brush. Mm-hmm. That's about all cool. I could tell you.
Oh, what's that Pokemon that has the tail with that?
Smeargle?
The Zorork?
Well, it kind of has the brushy hair, but...
Yeah, that his tail's supposed to kind of look like, or he's supposed to look like he has one of those, like, inky brushes, too.
Okay, I was gonna say Smeargle's the actual...
Smeargle has, that a little bit. He's a little more Bob Ross. But yes, Okami now, is this a game that you played when it was out on like Wii or other systems before, or is this your first time going through the game?
Oh no, I played this back on the Wii. Mm-hmm. It was originally on the PlayStation 2. I didn't have it on PlayStation 2, I got it on the Wii. And this is the HD version. They released it on, I think it was PS3 and PS4, and then I think it's even on PC now. They've released it all over the place.
Yeah, it did. But, I was very happy that it became a very popular title.
Yes, it's a little bit of a cult classic.
I personally played it on PS2, and I think I didn't beat it though. That was back in the a time in my life where I did not devote that much time to gaming, but it was one game I made a very big effort to play. And I was actually really surprised because I got to the point where you fight like the first boss in the game, and there was such a build up around it, and it almost felt like I tricked myself into thinking that was going to be the final boss, but it actually was just like the first chapter of the game. And that's how long I had drawn it out and how little time I had to play it every week, that I was like, oh, I should be beating this game now, right? What? That's like the first section? Oh boy.
Wait, was that like Crimson Helm that you fought, or was that...
I fought when you first fight Orochi.
Or Orochi, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, well, I mean, not to give any major spoilers, but they kind of do that ye old twist of, oh, you thought this was the big bad, but he's only the biggest bad's underling, right? That kind of thing.
So why don't you set up the stage? What is Okami about? What is this general premise of here?
Okami is, I guess you call it an action-adventure game, question mark. It has a lot of similarities to Zelda. Old school, like the older 3D Zelda games, not Breath of the Wild, not 2D Zeldas, like, Ocarina of Time, that kind of thing. The very interesting thing about Okami is the characters, and the premise of the game is that you are Amaterasu, who is the Shinto sun goddess, the sun goddess of the actual Shinto religion, reincarnated in the form of a wolf.
Yeah, like all of the actual, like, real-life emperors of Japan claim to be direct descendants of Amaterasu, which is kind of insane and awesome that they have a game where you literally are playing a actual still worship to this day deity.
Right. Well, the reason I really don't think she took the form of a wolf in previous. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think she did. But the reason it's a wolf that she turns into is actually a pun.
Oh, okay.
It's like the entire point of the premise of the game is this stupid pun, and I love it. Because, well, in Japanese, Okami, written as like two different kanji, means like great goddess or great god or great divinity. Kami being an odd word to translate into English, there's a translation for it. Anyway, it means like great god, and it's used a lot in reference to Amaterasu. But Okami, written as one word, means wolf.
Okay.
So it's a pun.
Okay, so you play this wolf form, and I do love that even though you are this omnipotent-ish being, you still have the mannerisms of a wolf, and people even just mistake you for a dog half the time, and they just kind of like, well, you do take the form of a dog when you're like in towns.
Well, yeah, you look different to... Amaterasu has these red marks you'll see, and all the artwork and all that stuff. But the majority of mortals cannot see these markings. To them, she just looks like a big white dog.
Okay. And but I love that. So like you always have like the mannerisms, like little roars, and people like try to pet you when you're like in town. It's like, I
she's like, yeah,
you.
Pet me.
But that is just the first part of the premise. The real catch of this game is how the unique use of your powers, how Amaterasu actually deploys her special abilities that she earns in the game.
Yep. She has an ability called the Celestial Brush. And basically what the Celestial Brush is, it turns the screen, the world in front of you, into a canvas that you draw on. And whatever symbols you draw will affect the world around you. Like if you draw like this horizontal slash, it will cut through stuff. You can chop down trees, you can cut through boulders, you can do all kinds of stuff. You go around and you're collecting all of these powers, these celestial brush powers from these gods who were originally part of Amaterasu, and they got broken away from her because she was actually killed previously before she was reincarnated again. So you're trying to regain her powers, and it's a whole bunch of different abilities. You got wind and fire and water and all kinds of stuff.
And you start with the one to summon the sun, in case you need to make a bit.
You always have that power from the get-go. You just draw a circle in the sky and boom, sun.
Yeah, and it really is a great, it's a unique twist on how a character can like use their powers rather than just like, oh, I found this magical equipment that lets me do this or this thing. It's like the power's in her, and it's just a matter of learning or unlocking those powers, and they all kind of use that same brushstroke thing. But what is the power? What is the point of the game? What's the story? Basically, you are
Amaterasu. You were originally also Amaterasu in a previous life, and you saved this village from this dragon called Orochi, and you were killed in battle. And they made a statue of you. And now Nippon, which is Japanese for Japan, surprise. Nippon is in danger again. There's these horrible curse stones popping up, and Orochi is back, and all this stuff. And so you are reborn again as Amaterasu, and it's your job to save the day.
Yeah, so it plays out very much like a Zelda-style game, right? You go out into a world, or at least one section thereof of the world. There's towns, there's people, you can get side quests, you explore, you find dungeons, more or less?
Kind of, yeah. I wouldn't, they're not usually very dungeon-y, but they are, separate areas that you go through. It's more exploration and less puzzly, but there are puzzles.
And there are things to fight, right?
Oh yeah. Now you don't fight in the overworld like you do in Zelda. It kind of goes into like a battle area when you enter into a battle. The combat is quite fun though, because it's kind of, I don't want to say button mashy, and you have different weapon types that you can play around with and customize however you want.
Oh, right. I forgot it changes, right? Like you'll see enemies on the overworld, but if you touch them, you go into the
they look like these little floaty scrolls.
Arena.
So you can see them and avoid them if you want to. But then it goes into like a battle area. And there's 3 different weapon types you can get, and you can equip them as either your main weapon or your sub weapon, so they have like different abilities that way. But you mentioned the emperors of Japan, claiming ancestry to Amaterasu. The 3 weapon types that she uses are actually based on the 3 royal treasures of Japan, which is cool. The mirror, the sword, and the rosary, or the
beads.
The beads. It's the same thing from Ace Attorney's series that
Magatama.
There we go. Yes.
Right. So yeah, the combat is pretty cool. I also love, like, one of the main goals that you have in any given area is kind of like just restoring life to it. Yeah, and you do it in that really cool way.
Well, yeah, you're going around. The way you get rid of the biggest curse stones so that you can actually progress is you have to find these saplings and restore them. And it's very cool looking little cutscene every time you do it.
Yeah, well, because everywhere you run, just while you're running on the map, there's always like just life sprouting in your wake, like flowers and grass just blooms in the wake of this goddess running through the land.
Yeah, and it encourages you to explore around each map and find every little thing, every little patch of cursed earth that you can clear up gives you praise, which is points that you can then use to upgrade your character. Get more health, more ink pots, so you don't run out of ink while you're drawing and that sort of thing.
And it also has a really good mechanic that as you're restoring those saplings and they cause the surrounding areas to bloom, it's a signal you've explored this area.
Right.
Like, you've been here, you've done it. If you just go and look for areas that don't look like life has been restored, or, might be a little more, barren-y, it's like, all right, this is where I should be. I gotta go find out how to restore this place. So it kind of gives you a good sense of progression and guidance at the same time. The towns play a decent role in this. I forget how much it matters, like going in towns, or if that's just a place to go get quests or something like that.
Well, I mean, the storyline is very linear. So you are pretty much guided. You have to go from place to place in a linear fashion, and there's quite a few towns, and you have to help the people in there. And there's an awful lot of side quests, but they're also progressing you in the main story too. So that kind of thing.
Were there a lot of those big bosses? Like I said, I felt like I played a pretty long game just getting to that first major boss of the game.
Getting to Orochi.
Yeah.
That's probably about, I want to say about the halfway point, actually.
Okay, all right. So I wasn't
something like that. I'm still working through my Switch version of it. I haven't beaten it yet because I already beat it multiple times on the Wii.
Gotcha.
There are a ton of collectibles, by the way, so if you're one of those completionists who loves collectibles. Has a lot of them.
Yes. So I imagine now with the brush strokes being able to, you could probably just do it right on the touch screen if you're playing in portable
Playing
mode.
it in handheld with this game is fantastic. The touchscreen is so good for drawing the symbols and stuff on. It's way easier than the Wiimote was, and I imagine it's a lot easier than the PlayStation controller was too.
Yeah, and the PlayStation controller is probably, like, it was the only way I had played it at the time, and I couldn't even imagine a system that would offer anything better than this in order to do it. And then the Wii version came, and now, yes, right on a pad on the Switch there.
It's sometimes a little frustrating because it's a little finicky. Like, if you try to draw a circle and you don't match the ends up just right, it might read it as like a swoosh instead. Loop instead of a circle. So you do have to be a little careful with that, but once you get it, it's not too hard.
Right. And it's not like you get penalized too much. I mean, your power for the ink, does that just restore us over time, or do you have to get something? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it restores over time, and you also can get items that restore it instantly. You usually get those if you're in the middle of a battle with like multiple enemies and you kill one, they'll usually give you a couple ink pots.
Right. So. I do remember that too, like all the abilities weren't just useful in the field, they almost all had some battle application. That's
one thing that Okami, I feel, does better than the old Zelda games did a lot. Because Zelda, you have a handful, you have, a couple items that you use pretty often, but then you'll have this item that you get for like one dungeon, and that's about all you ever use it for, right?
Like even something cool like the hook shot would only be useful in a battle that was specifically designed because we know you have the hook shot, we're going to incorporate it into this boss specifically.
Right. Whereas in Okami, the powers are always useful. Just about all of them are always useful. Either in the overworld, solving puzzles, or in battle. They're used for a lot of things. A lot of the enemies have different weaknesses to things. Like there's these two monsters you come across. They're basically like wheels. Mm-hmm. And one is like these lips stuck to this wheel, but they're ice elements. And the other one is, I think it's an eyeball on the freaking wheel, and it's fire. And if you have the fire and the ice abilities, you can pause your, pull up your little paper, thing, your drawing interface, whatever, pull it up in the middle of battle, which pauses it, and then you can draw a line from the fire type wheel to the ice type wheel and zap it with the fire type ability.
Very sick.
And vice versa.
I remember the monsters were all really cool. They all had that kind of, what's that word for like the Japanese ghosts, like that other Pokemon game?
I know what you're talking about. Yokai.
Yes. They all have like a yokai feel, right? They're all like really cool looking weird things.
Everything. This game has so much culture in it, dude. All the characters, there's so much. It's like all these folklore and mythology and, these kind of mythologized actual historical figures are in the game. There's so much stuff. Like your little helper guy, his name is Isu, right?
Well, that little flea that bounces on your head.
Yeah,
right?
He's kind of the Navi of this game.
Not as annoying.
Not as annoying, although he does talk a lot. And he's a womanizer. But anyway, no, he's this tiny itty bitty little dude. And he is based on a fairy tale, a Japanese fairy tale called Isumboshi. And it's kind of like Tom Thumb. Basically, the story goes, there was this old couple, they never had children, they really wanted a child. And one day, the old woman was doing laundry, I think, in the river, and a peach floats down the river. And she goes to eat the peach, and inside is this tiny little, like, 1-inch child. And that's Isumboshi, and he goes on, he becomes, like, a warrior, and, like, his sword is, like, a sewing needle. And all this stuff.
Wow. But it sounds like you've done some decent research, or is this just the stuff you know from your general love of all things Japanese?
Well, I learned that looking up Okami specifically. But, oh god, there's so much stuff. If you play this game, pull up the wiki page and look up the characters and where they come from, because it's all very interesting.
Now, they never made an Okami 2, did they? I remember they were supposed to be
They made Okami Den, which is kind of a sequel. It was for the Nintendo DS. It was not as good as Okami, in my opinion. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't as good as Okami.
See, I did feel like, when playing this, it just seemed like this is a slam dunk, new IP.
It very much was.
Like, right. This just felt like, it definitely is. If you like Zelda-style games, this is probably the most innovative and gorgeous one that still does its own thing. It doesn't, like, copy Zelda, but it just, does its own cool thing with it. And I was very disappointed that in all this time, it's never got a real true sequel. And, maybe hopefully the Switch popularity might help it.
Hopefully. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those games that wraps itself up very nicely. Yeah, and it doesn't need a sequel.
It's true. Yeah, sometimes it's better if a game just goes out on its high note.
But if you could make one for the Switch, Capcom, and actually make it really good, hint, hint, we would certainly appreciate it. You mentioned gorgeous, though, and I wanted to bring up the art style in this game is amazing.
Yeah. It all has that ink kind of feel, right? And it's always like moving a little bit, right?
It is based on an actual art movement from Japan. Like this, and what happened is called ukiyo-e.
Ukiyo-e, okay, yes.
And it started in like the 17th century, lasted till the 9th century. And
like I'm sure people like if they look that up, they'll say, "Oh, those kind of pictures." Like you've seen them.
Yeah, probably the most famous one that Westerners are familiar with is a piece of artwork called "The Great Wave off Kanagawa" by Hokusai, which is that it's actually a print. But it's that print of the giant tidal wave up with like the boats underneath, and there's Mount Fuji in the background. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
If you look at it, you'll recognize it.
It's very that art style has a name.
Common. What do you know?
Yeah, but that's the art style they based the game on, and it's really cool.
No, it does. It does look like that style just brought to life.
Brought to life, yes.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's really cool. So really a great title. I'm glad to have it on the Switch. Definitely worth checking out. It's been out for a little while on the Switch, and hopefully, we'll keep our fingers crossed. And maybe it'll stay alive, and maybe something will come out in the future.
Cross your fingers. I don't know. Capcom doesn't even love Mega Man that much anymore. What are they doing?
True. All right. So that is all of our game time for this week. Let's catch our breath one more time. Drop all of our Pokemon in the box and start a fresh leg of our journey. Okay, time for the Switch Focus. And this is a really big day for us, Rain, right? I mean, this isn't just a title. There's very few titles that get us. I mean, there's people who are diehard Smash fans. There's people who are diehard Mario fans. If there was any series that I am a diehard fan of, it is Pokemon. It is the one series that still gets me Christmas morning excited,
right?
I mean, and you're in that same boat too, right?
Oh, yes.
I mean, is that, you are.
Definitely.
You and I are both like, this is our main thing. I sometimes take the back seat in interest in a lot of the biggest titles, but this is something I'm going into. But I will say, going into talking about this game and reviewing it and everything, I definitely am going to look at this with two sets of eyes. There's definitely the way to look at this game as a critical reviewer and a lot of things to analyze that are both good and bad. But to start this out, I will say, from the eyes of just a Pokemon fan who, has a lot of demands and who has been playing the series since day one, I am very excited with this game. I've been very much enjoying it, and that I am more than just the game itself. I am excited with what it's been doing to get people to play Pokemon and to buy Switches.
Yeah.
I know of already 2 people I work with who bought a Nintendo Switch the day after I brought this game in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They just were like, no, why are you doing this to me? No, I can buy a Switch. And I showed them, and I just started petting my Eevee in front of them. And I just showed them, come on. And I'm like, you gotta play. And by the next day, they already had 3 more badges than me.
Oh, wow.
So this is...
you've created a monster.
It's what I do. But Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee editions. Rin, which version did you get?
Well, funny story about that.
Uh-huh.
I said on the last episode I was here that I was getting the Pikachu version, and I did.
Uh-huh.
I got it physically. I ordered it off Amazon because I wanted to get the Pokeball Plus.
Right.
The bundle, right? Well, it snowed on Thursday,
Mhm.
and my package got delayed.
Oh.
So I was sitting in my room over the weekend watching the tracker on my phone. And eventually I was like, you know what? The heck with this. I'm just downloading Eevee version on my Switch. So that's what I did. So I've been playing the Eevee version instead of the Pikachu version.
Are you going to return the Pikachu version, or are you just going to play
I'll
them
just
both or
keep
something?
it. I'll just play both of them. I just haven't gotten to the Pikachu version.
You're not going to eBay the other version?
Nah, I'll just hang on. Okay. I'll just have it.
Okay, fair enough. Or use an excuse to get somebody else to buy a Switch and say, look, if you buy a Switch, I'll
give you this.
Here's the game.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
All right, so, let's just... For the people, most people, I'm sure you know what Pokemon is, but what is Pokemon Let's Go in relation to the Pokemon franchise? Ren, can you explain that for us?
It is kind of a... How should I put this?
It's kind of hard to explain. It's in a weird kind of place between, it's not like quite a new generation of Pokemon.
No. There's spoiler warning, I guess. There is one new Gen 8 Pokemon that's been released so far that you can get in Let's Go, I think. Meltan. And its evolution. But it's kind of a midway point between the standard main series Pokemon games in all their complexity and Pokemon Go.
Yeah. It's not quite a remake of Pokemon Gen 1, like Red and Blue. It's definitely more than a remake, but not quite a totally unique game, I guess you could say that.
Yeah, it's still, the story is very much Pokemon Yellow, kind of Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow. You're going through Kanto, it's the same order of badges, same characters, all that kind of stuff. Some minor differences, but... So
a few little changes with the characters. I will say first off the bat, the rival that you start out with in this game is a new rival where I was just assuming, since it was kind of this Gen 1 remake, I thought it was going to be Blue / Gary Oak. In fact, as I started the game, I was like, okay, I guess I'll name this rival Gary. And early on, I realized, no, this is not Gary. This guy's
definitely not
too
Gary.
Nice.
Yeah,
very too nice.
Yeah, he's another nice rival.
Which is kind of the new trend, and I'm kind of a little iffy.
I don't hate the nice rivals, but at the same time, I kind of miss having a rival that you really just want to gun for because you hate his guts. He's like,
even if I don't.
Yeah. I think my favorite rival was Silver from the old Silver and Gold games.
Generation 2. Yeah.
Just because he was such a jerk.
Yeah. But you know what? Yeah, see, here's the thing. Rivals, we could even do a whole episode on rivals in general here, but the thing about the first 2 generation rivals is they are, in all respects, the closest thing to your antagonist, right? They might not be bad people, but they definitely have philosophical differences from the main character or a different moral compass than the main character.
Right.
But the thing that made them interesting was just because they were that way, they weren't like the typical bad guy in these games who's like, I'm evil and that's why I'm an idiot who you can beat up, right? They succeed and they usually are one step ahead of you. And so you have to catch up to them in order to prove that your way is a little better. So that, it's just a philosophical difference. Even if you don't hate the person, you kind of want to prove that, being a jerk to Pokemon or, treating them like tools isn't quite the right way.
No,
but they didn't make them out to be idiots. Idiot villains are just not that interesting.
Right.
But so yeah, we have friend, rival, but that doesn't mean that our other characters that we do know and love aren't in here as well. You will see, yes, as you mentioned, all the same gym leaders are in this game. But the very first main difference in this game is that your starter Pokemon is determined by the game you buy. You will either have your starting Pokemon will be either Pikachu or Eevee. And this is a very central aspect to the game, yeah?
Yeah. For example, the way they handle HMs in this game is that they're all just special abilities that your Pikachu or your Eevee can learn. And they're not even used in battle like Cut or anything like that. They're just special overworld abilities. Yeah.
So that's just a first thing, that a strict improvement from the original games and a lot of the games in previous generations where moves that you had to teach your Pokemon just in order to access parts of the map used to have to be taught like 2 Pokemon in your party, and that would take up a slot of moves that you would actually want to use in battle, and they tended not to be great battle moves. Now it's just, yes, your pet, your Pikachu or Eevee will just know them, and then you can, they'll just always be able to get you through to the map parts you want to get, which is great and streamlines that action altogether there, which is nice. You also will have a little bit of that little mini game, kind of like that Pokemon that was from the previous generation.
Where you can pet them and everything else, and it's freaking adorable.
It is ridiculously adorable.
Oh, and you can dress them up. There was little hats and little jackets and little bows, and oh my god.
And no, it's so hard not to
squee.
Yeah, it is so hard not to squee at how ridiculously cute they made it. And it pays off that they focused just on the one that's the main character of the game, because in the previous gens, they had to have animations and reactions for every Pokemon in the game. And that's a cool feat that they did. But the problem was, I felt like in those games, you had to split your attention. Like, I felt guilty about the Pokemon I didn't feed berries to, or I didn't pet every so often. I had to rotate. It almost felt like a chore to make sure they were all happy. You only have the one Pokemon to worry about in this game, and so you can kind of dote on him, and you don't feel like you're neglecting anything else. And it is just kind of cool. And it gives you a gameplay benefit in that sometimes when he's very happy, you can shake the controller, and Eevee or Pikachu will cheer for the Pokemon that's currently in battle and give them a whole bunch of stat boosts if they need it. Or sometimes you could just go to him and they will have a gift for you if you choose to go and play with them when they're in good mood mode, which is kind of cool there. But more than that, it kind of feels like that your partner Pokemon's almost like a character in this game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's like certain scenes where, like when I was on the SSN, which is like a great classic moment, just the fact, like there was just that one scene where you go on the deck of the ship and Eevee's the one that's like telling you, hey, come over here, and you follow him to the front of the ship just to get a view of the city and the ocean. And
it's like kind of a just like Titanic moment there with Eevee.
Yeah, right. And it kind of is, but it's like this shared moment. It's he wanted to see this and he wanted to share this little view with you, and it kind of feels like, yeah, I'm on an adventure. I'm sharing these moments with my little partner Pokemon, which endears him more than most any other starter can do, because they can put these scripted events in for it, which is really cool.
I just did the game corner in Celadon City. Underneath the game corner where the Rocket's hideout is, and there's a scripted scene in there where you have to send Eevee up into an air vent to get a key that one of the grunts had thrown up on a ledge. So you have to actually guide Eevee around the little ledge there and grab the key and hop back down. But yeah.
I mean, he feels very much like Ash's Pikachu kind of thing, where he doesn't stay in a Pokeball. He rides on your head or your shoulder, depending on which one you have. And even when that's your first Pokemon in battle, I love the animation. It's not you
just kind of like, you don't throw a Pokeball, nope, you kind of toss them off your shoulder or wherever they happen to be.
Yeah, it just feels so cool and characteristic, and it's just this, they took this extra time to put this little flavor of how this Pokemon goes into battle, and then just shows that it's a special character. It's not just an average Pokemon. But they did give you room to have other Pokemon that you can choose to have special interactions with.
Yeah, you don't even have to have your starter on your team. You can have a full 6 of other Pokemon if you want to. I will say, though, you could probably go through the entire game and never use another Pokemon except your starter.
Yeah, they are very strong. Like, they boost them up in a few ways, right?
Well, they automatically have 31 IVs and everything. So they have perfect stats. I think the nature is still randomized when you get it, but they also have special moves that they only get, and it's like there's I don't know about the Pikachu. I know Pikachu gets a bunch of ones too, but Eevee has an electrical move, a water move, a fire move. It can learn Psychic and Dark on top of its usual move pool.
I have heard it said that the Eevee mode is a slightly easier because Eevee does learn a wider variety of types of attacks. So you can customize him for almost anything.
Like the psychic one automatically puts up a light screen too, so it cuts your it cuts special attacks and attack. The dark one puts up reflect. The fire one 100% chance burn. Yep. Yeah. Electric one is 100% chance paralysis. The water one has a drain effect.
So even though he can't evolve, you can't evolve your starter, but they more than make up for it with moves and stats.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, he's definitely worth keeping your party, or if you just want him to be your mascot and play with another team.
Yeah, or if you find that it's just far too easy with Eevee, it's true. You don't have to. You can use other Pokemon too.
I feel personally satisfied only bringing him out as my lead Pokemon in gym battles. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like I'm just like I save him for my ace in the hole,
right?
In gym battles, and that's where he earns his keep, and everyone else gets to shine everywhere else. But we do have the other ways that your other Pokemon get to have special appearances, namely with the follow mode.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you can let your Pokemon out of their ball, and some of them do special things, like Charizard. You can actually fly around on Charizard's back, which is awesome! I cannot wait for my Charmeleon to evolve. The little ones can follow after you. Some of them are slower than you, which is adorable. Like the Caterpie cannot keep up. He's just like, oh, wait for me.
Conversely, Pikachu is faster than you.
Oh, yeah.
And he will
dart ahead. Mm-hmm.
Which is it very much feels like the anime where he would always be running like a few steps ahead of Ash or something like that. It's just a really cool little effect that they took the time to give every single Pokemon a little, quirk in how it animates or moves, and something you ride on. I've been riding on my new shiny Onix everywhere, who's too big to fit in most areas.
Right. I think all the ones that you can ride disappear into their Pokeballs when you're inside. I've been riding around on my Rhyhorn until he evolves. Mm-hmm. The Snorlax. Have you seen the Snorlax?
I have not.
Oh my god, you can ride on Snorlax, and you cling to his belly. It looks like Totoro. In the movie when they're clinging to Totoro's belly, the little girl.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it looks like Totoro.
I also like that there are some scripted events for different Pokemon that were really cool. Little things that just give you some gameplay hints. Like I went to the museum, right, where the fossils are, and I had my newly caught NidoRin with me, and that is what I named it, NidoRin. And she started pawing at the case that had the moonstone, and they just gave you this little hint.
Yes.
Yeah, and if you never knew, and if this is your first Pokemon game, that's just like a little tip-off that, wonder why this Pokemon's so interested in a stone, and that's a little tip-off that is a item to evolve it later on.
Yes, I thought that was very cool. I'd forgotten about that until you mentioned it.
Yeah, I made a special note. I was like, that is really nice. Again, just little details like that fleshed it out and just made the whole world feel alive. Now, speaking of the world feeling alive, I think one of the things that really adds to that is the different nature of the encounters in this game. The fact that Pokemon just are running around on the world map and there aren't random encounters. How have you felt about this very notable paradigm change in the series?
I really like it, to be perfectly honest. Random battles feel very dated at this point in time. And I really like being able to see the Pokemon running around in the overworld like creatures living in the world.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to, chase after one in particular if you're trying to catch one.
Yes. I mean, that is also how I was able to catch my shiny. I was walking around in the caves and I saw the shiny Onix. And my heart started to skip a beat because I was like, oh, that's a big deal. Don't run into anything else.
Right.
Don't get into another battle by accident. Make a beeline and dodge anything and get to that Onix.
Don't quote me on this, I'm not sure, but I think if you do accidentally run into another Pokemon, if you run away quick, it'll still be there when you come back up. Hey. They do despawn after a short period of time, so you do want to go after them, but I don't think you're screwed if you accidentally run into a Rattata or something.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I did go into this game thinking that might be a feature I was not crazy about. I was, because, I mean, you play Pokemon Go too, yes?
Oh, yes.
Yes, we trade gifts pretty often.
Yes.
And I didn't think that taking a feature from Pokemon Go and bringing it into this Switch game would have been something I would enjoy. I almost felt like, oh, I don't know, you're taking out the battles, you're taking this big chunk of the game out and replacing with this minigame. I found it, first off, instantly love the fact, yes, not having to get into random encounters when I don't want them, right? Mm-hmm. And your Pokemon still can level up from catching. It makes, if you want to grind, if you need more levels, it's a very efficient way to grind, especially if you do the chaining, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But more than that, it breaks up the gameplay. I felt that there are plenty of chunks of the game where you go and you'll have 8 or 9 battles in a row, or you'll go through this whole chapter of the game where it's just nothing but fighting different trainers. And then I go to a dungeon where normally I would just be like, oh, here's more battles with Geodude, Rattata. I go into a dungeon, I'm like, ooh, I get to play a different mini game. I get to test a whole other, more of a dexterity kind of skill rather than my strategy skill. And if I'm not in the mood for it, I just don't do it. It's very easy to skip. But I've usually been very happy to break up the gameplay and just with chunks of throwing Pokeballs and chunks of battle.
I don't know if I exactly agree with you. I mean, I kind of do like that aspect of it and how it breaks it up. At the same time, though, I kind of miss being able to just weaken the Pokemon with my own Pokemon and strategizing ways to do that efficiently, like, you know, getting a Pokemon that has Spore and False Swipe and all these other useful things, that sort of stuff. I kind of hope if they keep this kind of aspect to it, that they add in that you can use your own Pokemon to weaken it and it makes it easier to capture, but then when you actually go to capture it, it keeps the throwing minigame. Kind of mix them together a little bit.
I totally get where you're coming from. I too liked having a Pokemon who was on my team who specialized in like capture arts and, you know, doing all the skills that you need for that. At the same time, that does sometimes feel like another slot on my team, almost like the HM Pokemon, like a HM Mule. It's another Pokemon who's not really great in battle that I just keep around for a specific situation, right? But that's fine. No, it's not a big killer.
Well, in my case, though, I usually don't start doing that until after I'm finished the main game anyway, so it doesn't really feel like I'm wasting a slot on my team because I've already, you know, knocked out all the random trainers. I'm going through filling up my Pokedex, so...
Yeah. I can totally get why people don't like this mode or might even, you know, maybe they're not crazy about this mode, but I liked it more than I thought I would going into it. And
same.
I did find the throwing one, because it's almost a different game depending on whether you're playing it handheld or docked. Whereas in docked mode, you have to do the actual arm swing. Whereas in handheld, it's more like... It's just the timing, because you just have to hit the button to throw the ball, but then you have to actually use the motion controls to aim yourself where you're throwing it. The only problem I have is in docked mode, I have a very hard time throwing the ball at an angle. I can't get it to go to the left or right side. And it's just kind of frustrating, and it's not as... Like, it doesn't feel like it throws at the exact moment that I move my arm, so I just kind of feel like there's a little bit of a delay. Whereas in handheld mode, as soon as I hit that button, the ball launches, and I feel like the timing works a little bit better in that mode. I've
been playing, like, exclusively in handheld mode, so I haven't really tried the throwing with stuff yet, but even
have you tried throwing with your Pokeball yet?
I haven't. No, I have not.
Okay. Have you used the Pokeball as the controller at all yet?
A little bit. You kind of have to use it when you're putting a Pokemon in there to walk about with.
Right, yeah.
But aside from that, I haven't used it a whole lot as a controller. I've mostly been using it to walk my Pokemon.
Okay. One nice little feature, they added the catch combos. Have you delved into these at all yet?
A little bit. I was chaining some stuff for the sake of getting experience points. I know it ups your chances of getting rare Pokemon. Some Pokemon only spawn after you have so many chains done.
Yeah, so a chain is if you purposely only get the same Pokemon, over and over again. You only catch, let's say, like Geodudes, and then you can make a chain of 30 Geodudes if you want.
I messaged you the other day. I was like, oh my god, I found a Chansey in Mount Moon.
Yes.
Because apparently I had, gotten enough Geodudes or Zubats or whatever, and it popped up.
Yeah. Yes, it increases the odds of getting a rare one. So it's really, it's nice that you don't have to just roll the dice and walk around in circles hoping to eventually see. You can do something active like build up this chain and catch the same guy and then build up your chance of rarity. It's also good for getting Pokemon of better stats than you need. So if you get like 11 chain, you get 1 perfect stat. If you get 21 chains, you get 2, and it maxes out at 3 perfect stats. 3 different IVs will be maxed out at 31 chains. And then you could also increase the chances of a shiny Pokemon as well. I believe that maxes out at like, I don't know, maybe 50.
I think it's 31 is the max for all the chains.
Maybe, okay.
Something like that.
Maybe
but
okay.
Also, speaking of perfect IVs, anybody that's grinding up for that stuff or wanting to make a team for their competition, there is an NPC, I think in Celadon City, who will set the natures of all the wild Pokemon for you.
Oh, that is
so that
very convenient.
It lasts for 1 day. I think it's 24 hours. I'm not sure if it resets at midnight or what. I haven't looked into it. But she asks you a bunch of questions, and you can answer a certain way. And then all the Pokemon you encounter will have one nature.
One nature.
Yeah,
very
we don't have
nice.
abilities in this game.
Right. No, but that's a good transition. Now they have that, yeah. So they don't have abilities in this game. There's no hold items, and there's no breeding. They've definitely scaled back the complexity of this game, which lends itself to the idea that this is definitely a game catering to bringing in new players into the Pokemon franchise who might have only taken the bait of Pokemon Go in the past. Mixing in, I think that's one of the other benefits of them mixing in that throwing minigame, is that that's what the people who played Pokemon Go are familiar with. They might feel like it's a nice, easier way to play this one and level up Pokemon without having no battles. The game's always easy enough so that even if you've never played a real Pokemon before, you'll get a decent start, and it's never going to get too complicated. You don't have to actually know anything about natures. You don't have to really know anything other than maybe the type advantages, and you don't have to know abilities. And this will be a very easy way to initiate someone into it. And again, it's Kanto. It's a kind of a remake of the first game, so it feels like you're starting at that place that all of us started at. Well, a lot of us started at.
No better place to start than the beginning, right?
Right. I really do feel this is thought out as a game to expand the Pokemon fan base to those people.
I'm a little surprised they didn't use the touchscreen in handheld mode for the Pokeball throwing. But
oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I want to put spin on it. I can't throw a Pokeball and go without putting a spin on it. It's
I know. I'm so used to throwing curveballs, and it's like
right. I'm a little not used to that, but fair enough. They simplified it there. At least you can use the touchscreen to pet your Eevee.
Yes.
How do you feel now? So speaking of the Pokemon Go, the Plus before. How do you feel about that special offer they did where they included Mew
with the
in
Pokeball
the
Plus?
Yeah.
It's a nice little extra.
I'll tell you, a lot of people are a little annoyed because they feel like it's almost like paid DLC. But more than that, because I believe there's some end game content that is unlocked because there's that mode where you can try to get the badge for every single Pokemon. There's like a challenger you could take on.
Okay.
For every individual
Pokemon. Yes, the Pokemon Master. That
right.
species-specific master thing.
Right. And the only way that's like an end game content thing, but the only way to play the Mew guy is to have the Mew. And
interesting.
Right. But I'll tell you, and you can tell me whether this sounds, true, or maybe it sounds like, I'm just making something up here. There's never been a Pokemon that has only had one way to get. They always eventually have an event or someone you can trade with to get access to it. And I know it's Mew, but if I needed it, you would lend me your Mew to access an event if I gave it back to you afterwards, right?
Yeah, sure.
And everybody out there who, especially if you're in this community, I'm sure you'll find someone in the chat, or you can find a friend who has access who will lend you a Mew to unlock the event. So it's not like you're actually being locked out of any content. Don't feel like they're really just charging you to play this little completion thing. But Mew especially, there's always a Pokemon who's just that hard to get guy. I'm not crazy about that he's right now the only way to get him is through a purchasable item. But he's supposed to be something that's hard to get, and someplace they're going to give you another way to get it. There'll be some GameStop event. You'll show up at GameStop on some weekend and you download it, or there'll be a mystery gift. You could do it from your home. Just remember.
I was going to say, the game has the capacity for mystery gifts. I'm sure they will use it.
Yeah. So do not feel disheartened if you did not get the Pokemon Go Plus and you did not get the Pokeball Plus and you didn't get a Mew. You'll get Mew. You're just going to have to stay a little more dedicated and watch the news a little more often.
If you really want to, you can transfer it from Go too.
Mew cannot be acquired any other way in Let's Go. You can't transfer your Mew from Pokemon Go into Let's Go. It's a mythical Pokemon. So it does look like you cannot transfer Mew because of its mythical status, I guess.
Okay.
But trading it is still, between Let's Go games is still a viable option.
Yeah.
Just have a good, trustworthy friend.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on. All right, now let's talk about some general things. Music. How do you find music here?
It's great. It's nice orchestral remakes of all the classic themes. I think it sounds great. It
is really well done. Yes, orchestral sounds like a movie, and it sounds well done and doesn't really distract from it. As soon as I got to certain towns, it's just like, oh yes, this is the Celadon City song, right? This is Lavender Town.
I'm still waiting for Pokemon Symphonic Evolutions to get a CD.
That's true. I was just looking that up because the final rival battle is one of my favorite game tracks, and
I haven't gotten there yet, but I bet it's going to be great.
Yeah. I haven't gotten. Obviously, we haven't gotten to Endgame yet. You're pretty far though, right? You've had how many badges now?
I just beat Erica. I'm in Saffron City.
Okay. I'm just at my 4th badge now, so so I'm probably a little less than halfway through, but I have read a lot about the end game, so I can't talk about it yet, but it does look like there's a lot of decent amount of end game content, not just hunting the legendaries, but I think that 151 master challenge is going to be pretty time consuming for those. I'm very curious how combat's going to be in metagaming in terms of competitive Pokemon, especially without breeding. With breeding taken out of the game, I wonder if that's
breeding, without abilities, without held items, there's a lot of stuff.
I think this is actually going to be pretty interesting, and this is a great way to kind of calibrate the meta and restart everything with a lot simpler. Again, if you're a new player, it's a lot easier to grasp what the strategies are.
They do have Mega Evolutions, though, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting, right? That they added that little thing to it, but so much else isn't there. I'm really curious, though, how much they worked on the meta being kept in mind. What Pokemon can battle, and what the balance is between the types. Is Dragon type still going to be the OP in this generation? Is Psychic still going to be OP this generation?
I mean, we do still have Fairy types now, so that's going to bring down Dragons a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of Fairy types. You got your Wigglytuff and your Clefairy and Mr. Mime and what else? That's about it, right?
We also have those Steel types to check on Dragons. Check on them, right? They checked Fairy types. But there's more than one Dragon type in this game. We don't just have the Dragonite chain. We also have now the Executor. The Alolan Executor. He's another Dragon type option.
Oh yeah, and the Alolan Ninetales for Fairy type. Forgot about that one.
Oh,
that's quite a Dragon killer, because that's Ice and Fairy.
Right, yes. Okay, so there we go. And I gotta get my hands on Alolan Ninetales, actually. It'd be really good for my team. So I'm very curious, without being able to breed, are people just going to have to chain and catch ones with, are they going to stop at 3 IV maxes, or are going to be people who are going to catch them until they get ones with 4 or 5 perfect IVs like nut jobs? Or is the meta just going to be people are going to be I'm fine with, these are the 3 stats I wanted maxed out, and we're going to have a decent game without being totally insane?
I imagine it's going to depend on how much the chaining affects your chances of getting those perfect IVs.
Well, it maxes out at 3 perfect IVs at 31 chains, and you cannot get more than 3 perfect IVs except for by random luck. You can still theoretically get one that rolls another 31 3 times.
I don't know if I'll be able to go for 5 or 6.
Right, exactly. But you know what? There's going to be some nut jobs who are going to push for it, But I think that this might keep a check on it, other than people who hack, obviously. But I think honest gamers, this is going to keep people in a decent place where it's not all about just perfects, which is kind of interesting. We haven't been there in a long time, Not since like original Gen 1 have people not been able to play, ever since breeding was introduced, people were able to figure out how to make perfect Pokemon, and that was the bare minimum entry for competitive. I think now that people are going to be a little more willing to play with not perfect Pokemon.
Yeah.
Oh, and as for the animations and the graphics, I mean, I love the animations and all the characters. I love the character models of the main characters. I love how Blue looks in this game. He is really stylish.
Yes.
He's still jerky enough. I don't think he's like they still toned him down a bit, but he's still kind of an arrogant jerk.
He's still Blue. Maybe grown up a little bit, but he's still Blue.
Right. I love the 3D models for all the gym leaders. They all look so well brought to life. They look very, I don't know, they look straight out of an anime, but and the cameos. I mean, you've seen a lot of cameos so far from other gens.
Have I run into any of them yet? What did you run into? I guess I don't want to give too many spoilers, but
I ran into one of the leaders from the Alola region who was stopping off into town. And,
I haven't gotten there yet.
I do like that the gym leaders do jump around a little bit. They do act as a little bit of plot points and characters. Again, I've always complained that Pokemon has not been a game that's great on storyline, and I always kind of say I want more of it, but kind of going back to this one now where they scale all that back, I kind of feel like I've learned to appreciate it on this very minimal storyline. It's very casual. The only story I'm concerned about is my own journey through this world that's doing all right. It's not like there's anything I have to save. There's no world. It's just me and my own personal quest, and I guess I'm okay with that. And I feel just kind of relaxed with it, which is cool.
Reminded me when you were talking about the rivals and how they were the bad guys, but they're not really bad guys kind of thing.
Yeah.
In this game anyway, you beat Giovanni, and when you first encounter him, he's like, haha, small child.
Yeah.
I will thrash you, right? But when you beat him, he's like, I apologize for belittling you for being a child and all this other stuff. And it's like, you're still a jerk, but you're a suave jerk.
Okay.
You're a mafia boss, but you have standards. Okay.
I did notice that they, the way they kept to the script with like even some of the minor characters, but like just updated them. There's just like a few minor characters. Like I remember when you go to Lieutenant Surge's gym, I always remembered running into one of his gym, one of his like little underlings who says, I was his CO back in the war.
Right.
And the guy says the same exact thing here, just, updated verbiage, but it's the same messages. So they really did keep to so many of the details just updated. And, it's just enough to show you that they put work into it, that this isn't just a copy paste job, that it really is a labor of love and more of a homage than anything else.
The game corner in Celadon City is now an arcade, by the way.
Oh yeah,
and it doesn't have any video games. They should have had little mini games for you to play in there. It would have been so good.
Oh, have you started using the part where you transfer from Pokemon Go?
I have not gotten there yet. You have to get to Fuchsia City first.
Okay, I know that's pretty far.
It's where the Safari Zone used to be.
I figured that much. I was gonna say though, I feel like that aspect of the game is keeping me from worrying too much about catching them all as I go, because I have like pretty much everything from Pokemon Go. And I could just transfer easily like 150 of them. In fact, I'd love to. I want to make more space in my Pokemon Go box. I'd love to transfer guys over for some use.
Yeah, I've been like saving all of the Pokemon that I can't get in Eevee that I run into in Go. Like any Sandshrews I come across or Growl. I haven't found a Growlithe yet. You can get an Arcanine in game though from a trade.
Yes, I did also see that person who asks you to catch a bunch of Meowth or a bunch of Growliths. Yeah. And the people who will trade you Alolan versions of things. So if you want Alolan Geodude, there's a guy who will trade you for them. That's pretty cool. All right. So that's the main game. That's all the real that's pretty much every aspect we can analyze of the game itself. But let's now talk about some of the general issues that I want to make, answer for the people who might be interested. So first off, what works in this game best and what doesn't quite work for it?
Well, I mean, I personally really like the overworld, being able to see what you're going after before you get into battle with it, that sort of thing. I think that works pretty well. The graphics are gorgeous.
Graphics are very nice.
And I love being able to have all of your Pokemon running after you. That's great. I've been missing that since Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
I mean, I can't stress how big a deal it is for us that this is the first time we were able to play an actual Pokemon RPG in a full 3D console version. All right. A lot of people might be playing this. Maybe this is their first one in ages, and it's just really cool to play it again. But for a lot of us, we've been playing this on nothing but, DSs for a very long time. And I've loved it. And even the last one was in 3D on DS, which was great. But the fact that it's just gone up this level of quality, the level of graphical quality that was only previously in the Stadium games that were strictly battles and no world exploration, it's really huge. And it makes me anxious for the next full generation more than before. It's kindled my passion for the series all over again.
I cannot wait for Generation 8.
Yeah. And I really hope, I'm very curious to see how it'll go. I don't think 8 is going to carry over. I think the actual next generation will be more in line with the progress previous games had, right? With all the held items and stuff like that. But sure. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of had a parallel series of more casual Pokemon games like this released every so often that are more or less maybe more remakes that are this is for the casual players who aren't into that, and then these are the ones with all the crazy mechanics and, everything that we've gotten used to over the last 10 years.
Well, it was my understanding that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to have this more casual series for the people just coming into it or the people who aren't interested in the more complicated stuff, alongside of the more old school style mainline generation Pokemon game.
I think it's a brilliant choice because there's a lot of people, like I said, who all they wanted, really, the only reason I didn't want to buy this when they first heard of it is they thought it wasn't going to be a strict remake of Pokemon Red, Blue, Yellow. But it was enough when I showed it to them. They thought it was enough of the same thing that they wouldn't feel too alienated, and they bought Switches for it. And I'll just say my anecdotal evidence is that this has been going over amazingly well for that audience, for people who are very, the casual fans, especially those who haven't played in a while. But I'd like to hear more from you guys. If anyone out there has stories of people who have gotten back into either Pokemon, who bought a Switch because of this game, definitely let me know. Email me, casey@theswitchcast.com. You can also leave us a message on Facebook or Twitter, or if you're on the Patreon, definitely leave a comment there. I'd be happy to hear about that there. But as a experienced Pokemon player, you're fond of it too, right? Do you feel this is still an enjoyable game for us
I'm
veterans?
Thoroughly enjoying myself. I kind of wish it was a little more difficult, but I mean, it's a Pokemon game. It's not. It's a Pokemon game. They've always been easy.
I've been begging for more difficulty in these games, or at least a hard mode in them for ages. I did feel Sun and Moon did get hard near the end, and it was a decent challenge, but it still was 80%, just kind of press A to get through battles for a long time. So
yeah, we'll see how challenging the end game is with those trying to get the species master stuff.
True.
So maybe that
the
will
end
be
game.
That would be a little bit more of a challenge. Hopefully.
Or maybe if they have this series running at the same time as the generations, right? The real generation ones.
Right.
Maybe they'll be you know what? We already got these really easy throwback versions. Maybe we can crank up the difficulty of the main line. Maybe. I don't think so, but I'm going to hope. All right.
Dream,
Community
right?
Pulse. What?
So one can dream, right?
One can dream. All right, Community Pulse. Let's read a few points of what our viewers and listeners feel about this game. Rin, have you seen any posts that you would like to mention?
Okay, I'll read this one here. It's from Daniel Malik. I've been rocking Eevee, but I didn't decide to buy it until 2 days before release. I put hundreds of hours into Sun on the 3DS, breeding shinies for friends because I have their life. I feel ya. But kind of burned out on the Ultras. Don't blame you. I wasn't sure I'd really be into Let's Go. I was super against the overworld encounters and the Go-based catching mechanics. But some 15 hours into the game, I find myself hoping the Gen 8 games keep these mechanics. Same. I feel exactly the same way. they make it such a faster, cleaner, and more immersive experience. The one downside is they definitely need to expand the control scheme. I don't see why we can do stick controls in handheld but can't use a Pro controller. That's coming from someone who actually likes the Pokeball Plus. Yeah, I agree with I don't know. Why can't you use a Go controller?
Yeah.
Or a Pro controller?
I guess because if you're in docked mode, you have to do that throw motion, and they don't want you doing the throw motion on a controller that doesn't have straps. Right? Like,
yeah,
if you're doing that throw motion,
dangerous.
Right. So they want to be able to say, if anyone breaks their TV screens, to say, no, we told them they have to use the straps on their Joy-Cons. And if they didn't do it, that means they broke our instructions, and it's not our fault their TV's busted.
But couldn't it, read that it's using a Pro controller and then just use the dock controls for it, rather than...
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see. Yes, that actually would be a perfect answer.
That would work, right?
That would work if it did that instead, yes.
Yeah, because the Pro does have, the gyroscope control, so you can aim. I don't know why I couldn't do that.
Unless you're using a third-party one,
Yeah, you can't guarantee stuff with third-party.
Yeah, so I guess, something like that is the only answer I can think of. But honestly, I really am digging the one Joy-Con control. I'm laying down on my couch. My controller is behind my head because my arms are both there. And I'm still controlling everything perfectly with this one hand behind my head. It's just, I'm so laid back. it's pretty good.
Even though I've been playing handheld, I've been doing one hand too quite a bit, because you can use the L button as an A button, just like in the you can set it to that in the mainline games too, that your L is A, and I do that quite often. So
and today
one hand free to snarf some potato chips or something.
no, today I got back from, I was giving platelets again today, and I had my left hand was all hooked up to the machine, but I had my Switch propped up and I was playing with one Joy-Con in my right hand while my other hand's connected to the machine. Great, perfect, all I can ask for.
Nice.
All right. So let me see if I can truncate this one. Jeff Gatchett wrote to us on Patreon. So I recently played Blue version on Game Boy about a year ago, and I play Pokemon Go every single day. I played many other Pokemon games but trailed off around the DS versions at Black and White. It started getting boring, to be honest. Pokemon was one of the best games that could have happened to me and my wife as we play while walking our dog, and got so into it, we are now admins on a very large group in the Cincinnati area. Oh, nice. That's awesome. Yeah. I actually didn't have high hopes for the changes in Let's Go, but bought it out of nostalgia. I am happy I did. I absolutely love the quality of life improvements and the new additions to the game. I love this game, and they have done a terrific job recapturing the magic of the first game. Thank you. Yeah, no, it does give me also a lot of the fuzzy feelings, while still not feeling like it's just totally relying on that nostalgia. Like they're doing something good with it. And he wrote a lot more, but I could not read everything, but I definitely think I want to capture that emotion of somebody who hasn't played in a while, came back in because of Pokemon Go, and, because it was an easy, different way to play. And now this has kind of bridged that gap. Another example of exactly what I think this game is trying to do. Beautiful.
Nice. On Twitter, we have a message from Galapagos. Okay. Haven't played an actual Pokemon game since Pokemon White, unless you count Detective Pikachu and Pokemon Go. I am playing through Pikachu right now.
Interesting.
Speaking of, we need to talk about that trailer. That Detective Pikachu trailer, dude. I know you and Ori talked about it last time, but oh my god.
Briefly? You digging it? You digging it?
Pikachu is so fuzzy!
He's really fuzzy.
Yeah. I love it! And that Charizard, oh my lord. If Charizard looked like that in the games, I would have 10 of them. Just an entire team plus of Charizards. Give me all the fiery murder dragons.
I guess I always pictured Pikachu as being more short-haired than that, I
guess. But he's so cute, and he's fluffy, and I just want to snuggle him.
It does. He is a really good personality. I like the comic timing. And
even with the Deadpool voice.
Well, again...
Totally should have been Danny DeVito. Totally should have been Danny DeVito.
Thank you.
The voice works, but at the same time, it's like Deadpool.
It's gonna take me a while to tell my brain stop picturing Deadpool, and
they're gonna make a joke about Deadpool being the voice of the next Deadpool movie.
That's true. That is absolutely true. You're right. But we'll definitely talk about that as we see more trailers and more info comes out on that thing there. But it is a blitz. It is a blitz on people who are nostalgics, the people who aren't into the hardcore games, they have this movie coming up. They have the Detective Pikachu games. They have, Pokemon Go. They have a lot of ways to get into Pokemon without playing the serious games.
Man,
serious for Pokemon.
When they first announced that movie, I did not know what to think. And now that I've actually seen the trailer, I watched the trailer and I was just kind of sitting there slack-jawed afterwards. Kind of like, it's actually good? Question mark? Blew my mind.
All right, our last one from Patreon is from Danny Kenichi Avalos, who wrote, the last Pokemon game I played was Ultra Sun, so he's right up to date with the most, recent of the mainline games. I have also been playing Pokemon Go in prep for Let's Go Eevee. I've been having a ton of fun playing Let's Go Eevee, and it's amazing to see the region of Kanto in HD. I have also been using the Pokeball Plus, which has enhanced my gameplay experience, especially when capturing Pokemon. Pokemon Let's Go gets 2 thumbs up from me. So, look, that's the other end of the spectrum right there. That's someone who's been playing the mainline series right up until the most, recent games, and they're also digging it. So I just think that it's hitting all the right notes for a lot of people. I know that there's some people who are grumpy about it, but honestly, I think it does...
Grumpy is the nice way of putting it.
Yeah. I feel like the next generation will definitely... I'm confident the next generation will alleviate any fears those people have that the whole series is going this way. I don't think they're abandoning the people who are really diehard competitive, players.
Nah.
I just think they're trying to make the world a little more enhanced by adding all this fresh blood, because you know what, maybe only 10% of them are gonna be willing to go into that like harder core kind of competitive play, but that's a lot of more players. That's gonna really add fresh excitement and new challengers to play, rather than the
same old.
Yeah, rather than assemble someone in a small group that are, I feel like the more the games get complicated and more complicated, the more narrow down the player base is going to be. And they keep adding new features and more complexity, and it's just going to get, harder to get into. So, I think this is a good start. So, anyway, I think that's all we could talk about right now. Hopefully, when we get to endgame content, maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it then, when we've beaten the games, we've seen all the end stuff. But right now, let's go and heal up with Nurse Joy and maybe come back and just touch on the rest of the news that happened this week.
Okay.
This video will help you ensure that your data is ready to sync with a new Nintendo Switch system, while making sure your data and information is removed from the Nintendo Switch system you are trading in or selling. First, let's review how to prepare your Nintendo Switch system for trade-in or sale.
Yay, it worked!
All right, news rundown. Here are your headlines. Starting off, I just thought it was interesting. Nintendo has released a video. I've never seen something like this actually before from any game company. They have a video about preparing your Switch for trade-in or sale. Not only about how to save and back up your data to the cloud, but how to delete your information, protect it. Because, some people have their credit card information on the eShop on these things, or might have personal details. Pretty responsible little thing here. You can go through it. It'll show you everything you need to know. Or if you just want to transfer your data, let's say you bought a new Switch, maybe you get one on Black Friday, or maybe you got one of those special edition ones coming soon for Christmas. Here's all the information, nice little video, transferring data, how to protect your info, or if you're selling it off anytime this time of year. Pretty cool. I think that's just a nice step on their parts.
Yeah, I saw that pop up on my YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's handy.
Yeah, right. I'm not planning on selling mine or getting a new one a bundle anytime soon, but I probably will get like a special edition, or maybe I'll try out one of the new versions. If they ever release like an actual new model, I will definitely be tempted to try that out. And maybe I'll transfer my data, or maybe I'll just have it work alongside. We'll see. But, nice to have this little guide.
Yeah. Next up, for Smash Ultimate, they're saying that unlocking every Smash character will actually only take a couple of hours.
A couple of hours.
Everybody. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that. It's good in that you can get your all the characters and you can practice with them right away. You know, you aren't stuck trying to unlock them for ages. I'm having flashbacks to unlocking Mewtwo, and I think it was Melee. But at the same time, you know, unlocking stuff is something for you to do. It gives you, you know, something to work towards. If you aren't, while you aren't playing multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fair. We were a bit spoiled. All the other big titles I've played up until now were the remakes that had everything kind of just unlocked from the start. Mario Kart, Mario Tennis didn't have anything really to unlock other than some rackets. And then, you know, most of that stuff, you'd pick it up and out of the box, everything was unlocked for you. I'm kind of looking forward to working to get the characters and slowly watch my thing evolve.
Yeah.
At the same time, you know, I guess it is nice. This could technically just be like, technically you could get them all unlocked in a couple of hours if you knew everything you had to do and you were a great speedrunner. Maybe you were like, you know, maybe you'll have to get good at the game before you can do that. We don't know how long it'll take the average player, but at least technically a couple of hours. Okay, you know, we'll see. I'm sure there'll be an online guide somewhere showing you how to do that. For anyone who was upset that they didn't get to finish their Walking Dead series on the Switch or any other system for that matter, they have announced, Telltale, they did actually announce that they are going to make the final push to finish The Walking Dead, the final season, and hopefully it will be in our hands as soon as possible. Not announced exactly when it'll be here yet, so...
Well, that's good. No good leaving people hanging.
Right, exactly. It's just the kind of thing it just feels so bad. It went so far, right?
Know.
It just made it so.
They seemed like they were doing so well. You know, they were very popular, well known, and then it just kind of went, and suddenly everything they're bankrupt, and it's like, what?
I read a lot of stuff on this and watched some videos that try to explain it. I think. You know, I didn't do any personal research, but from my understanding is that they kind of went all in on these big licensed games that all did the same gameplay, and the market just didn't keep up with the cost and kind of repetition of these games. It's like, all right, we bought lots of big, you know, we made a lot of these games and they're all the same gameplay.
Yeah,
and we paid a lot for these licenses like Game of Thrones and you know, stuff, but right. They
kind of oversaturated their market single-handedly.
And the profits ended up not justifying the income from this like dwindling market that was getting oversaturated, right? So it all just kind of collapsed at once. But I mean, obviously it's a lot deeper than that. No one write me. You don't need to write me and tell me, well, actually, you know, is this like, you know, economic factor A and B? I'm just giving the most abridged understanding of it for our listeners here. Paladins and Smite are both getting crossplay, and this is pretty cool. Those are both, you know, our, you know, what is it, like hero shooter type games, and they are going to have crossplay both on Switch, Xbox One, and PC, and not PS4. That's still, even though PS4 has they've said that they have the technical capability to do so, they are just kind of holding it off again in this, constant game of we don't want to play with you.
Yeah.
So anyway, still good for all of us playing on one of those other systems. Lots more people to play. Always good to have a larger pool. Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes. They did announce officially that there will be a season pass for this game. Apparently, I didn't realize it was only going to be online, or at least that's all they announced it for. I mean, an eShop version of it at first. But they did also announce recently that there is going to be a physical version, and there is going to be a season pass, meaning there's going to be downloadable content. The exact details of this content have not been revealed, but they did specify that it will include an additional character, a new adventure scenario, and a new stage. How integral that is to the experience is to be seen, but, you know, it's just another game that has some extra stuff right from the get-go.
Cool.
We'll see what it is and if it's something that you have to get or if it's just like, you know,
right,
extra content if you beat the game.
Okay. We have the Arms Party Crash Tournament. Is going to be on November 23rd. That's It's Friday. If you get this up on Thursday like you're supposed to, Casey, that will be the day after. The first round is Min Min versus Lillipop.
Yes. So this is going to be a full-fledged tournament. This is kind of... It seems like they're trying to invigorate or reinvigorate the ARMS fan base with more than just a regular, one-shot event. This is going to be a running event in which the winner of this round in the tournament, it will eventually go on to face the winner of the next group that's going to face off. And they're going to have every character face off, and then winners will compete in successive weeks until they have a single triumphant, this is the ARMS champion of the fans. So it's a long-term event, and it's kind of cool. And I haven't had a reason to talk about ARMS in a while, but I would like to hear if anybody else is still playing it, or especially if anyone still has like a play group that they keep in touch with, and what the meta's like now. I'm very curious to hear if the game is still interesting to them, or if they've kind of settled into a certain kind of play cycle. I'd love to hear that. If anyone knows, let me know. Down the pipe. All right. So some games I saw that were pretty interesting, that were announced or got release dates this week. Beholder Complete Edition. This is a creepy spy game where you're like a landlord.
Oh, completely different than what I was thinking of. Go on.
Oh, okay. Yes. No, this is a game where you're like this weird, it's this very dark kind of game where you're this landlord who works for some shady government organization, and you're setting up bugs in the people's apartments, and you have to spy on them, and you're trying to catch them in different nefarious acts. And story events will come up where it's like, all right, do you want to rat this person out? Are you going to help them out? Are you going to do these things for your profit? Are you going to betray your country? All this sort of stuff. But it's a kind of a cool, weird kind of stealth game, because you're trying to spy on these people, and they can catch you if you're not careful. And you might have to sneak in, place a bug, or place cameras around. I'm interested. I'm intrigued, and that's coming out December 6th. Screen Sheet Unplugged. I just got to mention this because it's an interesting concept. This is a first-person shooter in which it's a multiplayer FPS in which everyone's character is invisible, and the only way to see where you're aiming or to make sure that you're hitting your opponent is to look at their screens in the split screen on their switches to see where their camera angle is, and use the environment cues. I think they purposely designed the stages to have lots of like landmark or easily identifiable things like colors on the background. So you're like, oh wait, he's in the green sector, he's on this tower, and you're going to try to shoot blind at this character based on what you're able to look at from their screen.
So it's kind of like, going back to ye old days when you're playing, 007 GoldenEye with your friend on the couch, and you're always yelling at him, don't look at my screen, you're cheating.
Exactly.
Turning that into a game. That's interesting. I kind of like that.
Total props for definitely trying something new and experimental. That game is scheduled to be coming out November 29th and should only be $13, which is kind of cool and, could be fun party game to have. Super Robot Wars T. I was a big fan of the Super Robot Wars. Last one I played was Super Robot Wars Tizen. I think that was on my DS of some sort. These are the tactical RPGs. They're kind of like playing like a Fire Emblem type game, but with a all-star cast of mecha anime characters and robots throughout. I mean, we got things from, different Gundams. We got Gao Gai Gar. Gao Gai Gar. I only know that show because it had a villain named Pizza.
Oh my god.
It was great.
See, JV, awesome. JV, if you didn't run away from me all the time, you could be here and you could be nerding out over this. Do you see what you're missing?
They got Gunbuster, they got Getter Robo, they got Votoms, and Cowboy Bebop, Captain Harlock, Ooh. Magic Knight Rayearth.
Interesting.
That's insane. And the animation just on this trailer, I don't know how much this trailer is actual like gameplay, but it looks really cool how it looks like the anime cutscenes of like when your characters attack or blow up other robots. It looks like straight out of a full anime on your screen, the way they animate these attacks and stuff. I don't know if that's just the trailer or if that's actual in-game footage, and if it is game footage, I am very impressed by how this is coming along. So that's 2019, no more specific date than that. I called this next one There's a 3-pack of indie games that are getting ports to the Switch. One of them, there is The Messenger, which is that is the ninja game that we've heard of before. Minute, and the main one is Downwell. Downwell is one of my favorite iPhone games. And the producer of that game, I forget the whole story, but we did a story about how he recently got some position within Nintendo, and I'll have to go back and look at what that is. But as soon as I heard that he was, working with Nintendo, I knew that his game would be coming to Switch. So I'm pretty hyped about Downwell. It's kind of like it's a vertical platformer in that you're always falling down and you're trying to go deeper and deeper, and you have gun boots. So you just jump, you move, and whenever you hold down the jump button, you shoot machine gun shots from your feet, and you're always, and you use the recoil to help you like float across things.
Oh, wow.
So it's like if you have to get over these spikes, you have to hold the machine gun down to like float over them, but you have to reload by landing. That's how every time your feet hit the ground, they load a new thing. So you only have a limited amount of that hover ability between platforms, but it's pretty cool. And unlike most endless runner-y type games, this does have an actual end, so I guess it's not an endless runner type game, but it's a cool vertical platformer. And finally, another game for this was JV's episode that sadly
right?
he missed. Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission was confirmed at least for the East, but there are signs that it's coming to the West due to the usual copyright or the trademark applications put in for the name. This is a card-based fighter game, so it's a bit of a departure from the fighting games that we're used to with the Dragon Ball characters, but it could be really cool. It has a cool animated trailer, but that will be coming 2019 if it is indeed coming to the West. Rin, close us out with some new release dates.
Alrighty. On November 22nd, we have Party Hard, I Am the Hero, Nidhogg 2, Battery Jam, Adventures of Bertram Fiddle Episode 2, A Bleaker Predicament. Okay. ACA Neo Geo, King of Monsters 2, The Next Thing. Word Sudoku by Pauji. Okay. Waku Waku Sweets. If I can talk today, that would be great.
We've been talking a lot. My mouth gets tired at the end of an episode.
Gem Crash. If I could read these two, it would be helpful. BB Bloxburg, Big Broom Race 3. They don't make these things easy to pronounce. BB and Tina Adventures with Horses. Okay.
It's like they're trying to give you tongue twisters just to
mess
with you.
Missplosion Man, Zeus Quest Remastered, Please Don't Touch Anything, Panda Hero, Steamberg, and Peace Death Complete Edition. On November 23rd, we have Forever Forest and Stump. On the 27th, we have Crystal Crisis, This War of Mine Complete Edition, and Spin Tires Mud Runner American Wilds Edition. Oh, and hold on a second. Mouse over this. 99 Vitas Definitive Edition. On the 28th, we have Horizon Chase Turbo and R-Type Dimension EX.
Thank you very much, Rin, for that exquisite tongue twister reading. And for making this special episode even more special by getting to talk with one of my good old Pokemon pals about some good old Pokemon games.
Well, it was very fun to be here.
Awesome. And definitely happy Thanksgiving again, everybody. Hopefully I do get this out. I hope that if you're traveling, you get to listen to this on the way to wherever you're going or back, and have a safe Black Friday. Don't get trampled by any deals. There's usually some good stuff to have, or hold on till Cyber Monday when it's safe and you can do it all from the comfort of your house.
Or, go online with Black Friday sales. There's quite a few of those too.
Yep.
Totally not paid to say this, but Fangamer is doing a big old Black Friday stuff, and they have new merch for a whole bunch of games, a lot of which are on your Switch, maybe Switch favorites. They got
awesome.
They got Undertale and Stardew Valley stuff and Celeste and Hollow Knight and a whole bunch of other stuff. And Okami.
Yeah.
They have an Okami t-shirt and I want it so much.
Definitely a great time, definitely a great weekend to keep an eye out to stock up your collection. I know Nintendo even has been promoting some deals, so just check the news feed on your Switch and you'll likely see something. Well, anyway, all that's fun, and until next time, everybody.
Smell you later.
Thanks for listening. You can support the SwitchCast by visiting us at patreon.com/theswitchcast and join the review crew by rating us and subscribing on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Also, check out our Discord chat where we have an enthusiastic bunch of Switch fans in a family-friendly environment. Also, join our Facebook group for daily discussion and quite a bit of activity towards the Switch itself.
You can also contact us directly via email at kc@theswitchcast.com and jv@theswitchcast.com. Talk to us on Twitter @theswitchcast.
Thank you, HeatleyBros, for the theme music. And check us out on our website at theswitchcast.com, where we will post all relevant links and show notes.
Promotional considerations provided by publishers in the form of review copies of games. What's the name of the company? Oh,
Megatama?
No, Metama or Metagama? Magatama.
Magatama. There we go. Yes.
I got it right eventually.